Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood at the main viewing window of Haven Station and watched the stars disappear. One by one, tiny lights that had shone for millions of years vanished behind dark shapes moving through space. The alien ships were so many that they blocked out entire sections of the night sky. "Captain, we have the final count," said Lieutenant Maya Thompson from her station. Her voice was steady, but Lisa could hear the fear underneath. 52,000 enemy vessels approaching. Earth, they will reach our outer defenses in 18 hours. Lisa nodded and turned back to the window. 52,000 ships. The entire Earth Defense Force had maybe 3,000 vessels, and most of those were small patrol craft. The math was simple and terrifying. For every human ship, there were 17 alien ones. Dr. Amanda Foster walked up beside her. Amanda was the lead scientist for first contact situations, though nobody had expected first contact to look like this. "Any response to our communication attempts?" Lisa asked. "Nothing," Amanda replied. "We have tried every frequency, every language protocol, even mathematical sequences. They are not talking to us." The alien fleet moved like a dark cloud across space. Their ships were massive, each one larger than Haven Station itself. They had a strange beauty to them, with curved lines and smooth surfaces that caught the light from distant stars. But there was something cold about them, too. Something that made Lisa think of predators hunting in deep water. "Captain Rodriguez." "To Admiral Sullivan." Lisa spoke into her communicator. "Go ahead, Lisa," came the reply from Earth. "The fleet is maintaining formation. No change in speed or direction. They are heading straight for Earth. Copy that. How are your people holding up?" Lisa looked around the command center. Her crew worked at their stations with quiet focus. Nobody was panicking, but she could see the tension in their shoulders, the way they moved a little too carefully. "They are good, Admiral. We are ready." "That is what I like to hear. Remember, Lisa, we knew this day might come. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for decades." The communication ended, and Lisa wondered what the Admiral meant. What preparations? The Defense Force was strong, but not strong enough for this, unless there was something she did not know about. A new voice spoke from across the room. "Captain, I am picking up a transmission from the alien fleet." It was Chief Engineer Rosa Martinez, her fingers dancing across her control panel. "Put it through," Lisa ordered. The main screen flickered and showed an alien face. The creature was tall and elegant, with pointed ears and large eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. Its skin was pale blue, and its features were sharp and beautiful in an otherworldly way. When it spoke, the words came through the translation system. In perfect English, "I am Fleet Commander Zarathel of the Kethari Empire. You will surrender your world within one rotation of your planet. Resistance will only bring suffering to your species. We come to bring order to your chaotic civilization." The transmission ended before anyone could respond. "Well, that was friendly," Rosa said with dark humor. Amanda was already working at her station, analyzing the transmission. "Did you see their technology? The image quality was perfect despite the distance. And that translation happened in real time. They have been studying us for much longer than we realized." From another part of the station came a young alien voice. Velana, a junior navigator on one of the Kethari ships, watched the human station through her ship's sensors. She had been studying the human formations for hours, and something bothered her about what she saw. "Commander," she said to her superior, "the human ships are moving in unusual patterns." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Nixara, an intelligence officer with silver hair and violet eyes. "They are not running away. Look at their formation. They are spreading out but not retreating. It is almost like they are getting ready for something." Nixara studied the display. The young navigator was right. Most species either fled in terror or charged forward in desperate attacks when faced with the Imperial fleet. But the humans were doing neither. They were positioning themselves carefully, like pieces on a game board. "Perhaps they are simply slow to understand their situation," Nixara said, but she did not sound convinced. Back on Haven Station, Lisa received new orders from Admiral Sullivan. "Lisa, I need you to prepare for Operation Lighthouse." "I have never heard of Operation Lighthouse," Lisa replied. "Few people have. It has been classified for 30 years. Dr. Foster should have the codes in her personal files." Amanda, are you listening? Amanda looked up from her station. Yes, Admiral. Access file 77 Alpha in your personal storage. Use authorization code New Dawn Rising. You will find everything you need to know. Amanda's fingers moved quickly across her controls. A moment later, her eyes went wide. Admiral, this is incredible. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we first detected radio signals from deep space. We always knew someone would come eventually. The question was whether they would come as friends or enemies. Lisa watched Amanda read through the files. Whatever Operation Lighthouse was, it was clearly important. Amanda, what does it say? It says that first contact was never going to be easy. It says that when a superior force arrives, the only way to survive is to be smarter than they are. Amanda looked up with a strange smile. It says that sometimes the best defense is to make the enemy underestimate you. Across space, Fleet Commander Zara Thel reviewed the tactical situation. The humans had 24 hours to surrender. After that, the conquest would begin. It would be quick and efficient, like all the others. The Kethari had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. This would be number 48. But deep in the fleet, Vel'Ana continued to watch the human ships with growing curiosity. There was something about their movements that reminded her of a dance she had seen once, a complex pattern that looked random but was actually carefully planned. She began to wonder if the humans were more dangerous than they appeared. On Haven Station, Lisa Rodriguez stood at her window and watched the alien fleet approach. In 18 hours, the battle for Earth would begin. But for the first time since the aliens arrived, she was starting to smile. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in her command chair deep inside the Cheyenne Mountain complex and watched the countdown timer on the main screen. 16 hours until the alien deadline. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. Nobody looked panicked, which was exactly what she wanted. Admiral, Operation Lighthouse is ready to begin, reported her aide, Commander Beth Morgan. Kate nodded. Signal all ships. Begin Phase 1. Across the solar system, human vessels started moving. Small reconnaissance ships that had been hiding behind asteroids and moons suddenly appeared on alien sensors. They moved toward the massive Kethari fleet in what looked like desperate scouting missions. Commander Beth Morgan piloted the lead scout ship, a tiny vessel called Wanderer. Her mission was simple: get as close as possible to the alien ships, scan everything, and try not to get killed. It sounded suicidal, but Beth had volunteered anyway. This is Wanderer approaching the enemy fleet, she radioed back to Earth. Beginning reconnaissance run, the alien ships were even more impressive. Up close, each one was like a floating city, covered in weapons and armor. Beth could see smaller craft moving between the larger vessels like schools of fish. She activated her scanners and started recording everything. On the Kethari command ship, Fleet, Commander Zarathel watched the approaching human scout with amusement. A single small ship approaches us. Should we destroy it? Let it come, she decided. Let them see the size of our fleet. It will make their surrender more complete. But Vel'Ana was watching from her navigation station, and she noticed something strange. Commander, this is the third human ship to approach our fleet in the past hour. They all follow similar paths, but each one scans different sections of our formation. Nixara looked at the tactical display. The young navigator was right again. The human scouts were not making random runs. They were systematically mapping the entire alien fleet, one section at a time. Perhaps they are gathering intelligence for their surrender, suggested another officer. Perhaps, Nixara replied, but she was beginning to think there was more to this than simple reconnaissance. Commander Beth Morgan finished her scan and turned her ship around. As she flew back toward Earth, she allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had let her get close enough to map their entire command section. Either they were incredibly confident or incredibly stupid. Wanderer to base, she radioed. Package delivered. Coming home. Dr. Amanda Foster received the scanner data and immediately began analysis. What she found was fascinating. The alien ships were powerful, but they all used the same technology. There was no variation in their designs, no individual modifications. It was like they had all been built from the same blueprint. They are very organized, she told Captain Rodriguez. Maybe too organized. Look at this formation pattern. Every Ship knows exactly where it should be. There is no flexibility, no room for improvisation. Lisa studied the data. That could be a weakness? Exactly. If we can disrupt their coordination, their strength becomes a liability. Meanwhile, more human ships were making their scouting runs. Each one looked like a desperate attempt to gather information, but together they were creating a complete picture of the alien fleet. The Kethari let them come, thinking it would demoralize the humans to see how outnumbered they were. On her ship, Velana continued to track the human movements. She had begun to see a pattern that worried her. Commander Nixara, I think we should be more careful about these human scouts. Why? They are just tiny ships with no weapons. Because they are not acting like defeated enemies. Look at their flight patterns. They are precise, coordinated. These pilots are very skilled. Nixara studied the data more carefully. Velana was right. The human pilots were flying with confidence and skill that suggested they were not afraid. That was unusual. Most species showed fear when facing the Imperial fleet. Back on Earth, Admiral Sullivan watched the reports come in from the scouting missions. Each ship brought back detailed scans of different parts of the alien fleet. Slowly, a complete picture was emerging. How many more runs do we need? She asked. 3 more should do it, replied her intelligence officer. We will have scanned their entire formation. Good. Signal the next wave. More human ships launched toward the alien fleet. These pilots knew they were taking huge risks, but they also knew their missions were vital. Each successful scan brought Earth one step closer to having a complete tactical picture of the enemy. Commander Beth Morgan made her second run, this time targeting the alien supply ships. As she flew between the massive vessels, she could not help but admire their engineering. The Kethari clearly knew how to build impressive spacecraft, but she also noticed something else. The ships all moved together like they were connected by invisible strings. When one ship changed course, others automatically adjusted to maintain formation. It was beautiful, but also rigid. These guys really like their formations, she radioed back to Earth. They move like a marching band. Very pretty, very predictable. On the Kethari flagship, Zarathel was beginning to lose patience with the human scouts. How many of these little ships are they going to send? Should we destroy the next one? Asked her weapons officer. Zarathel considered this. Part of her wanted to swat the annoying humans like insects. But another part of her was curious about what they were trying to accomplish. No, let them waste their resources on useless reconnaissance. It changes nothing. But Nixara was studying the tactical displays with growing concern. The human scouting pattern was too systematic to be random. Commander, I recommend we start intercepting these scouts. They are gathering too much information. Information about what? Our superiority? Let them see it all. It will make their surrender faster. Velana watched another human ship approach and felt a strange admiration for these creatures. They had to know they were facing impossible odds, but they kept coming anyway. There was something brave about that, something that reminded her of old stories about heroes facing monsters. As the deadline approached, the human scouting missions continued. Each ship that returned brought more data, more pieces of the puzzle. The aliens let them come, confident that superior numbers would win the day. Dr. Amanda Foster compiled all the reconnaissance data into a single tactical analysis. What she found surprised her. Admiral, you need to see this. The alien fleet is incredibly powerful, but it has a critical weakness. What kind of weakness? They are completely dependent on centralized command. Every ship receives orders from the flagship and follows them exactly. If we could disrupt their communications, their entire fleet would be thrown into chaos. Admiral Sullivan smiled. That is exactly what I was hoping you would say. Begin Phase 2 of Operation Lighthouse. Across space, more human ships moved into position. But these were not scouts. These were specialist vessels equipped with electronic warfare systems that had been developed in secret for decades. They moved carefully, staying hidden among the asteroids and debris fields. The countdown timer continued to tick down. 12 hours until the alien deadline. But for the first time since the crisis began, the humans felt like they had a real chance. The aliens had shown them their strength, but they had also revealed their weakness. On the Kethari flagship, Velana stared at the tactical display and felt a growing unease. The human ships had stopped their scouting runs and disappeared. That should have been good news, but something about it felt wrong. Where did they go? She asked herself. Soon, she would find out. The deadline had passed 3 hours ago. Fleet Commander Zarathel stood on the bridge of her flagship and stared at the small blue planet below. The humans had not surrendered. They had not even responded to her ultimatum. This was unprecedented. In her experience, all ships, begin the attack, she commanded. Across the Kethari fleet, weapons systems came online. 52,000 warships prepared to rain destruction on the human home world. It should have been over in minutes, but as the first wave of alien ships moved forward, something unexpected happened. The human vessels that had been hiding throughout the solar system suddenly appeared on sensors everywhere at once. They had positioned themselves in places that should have been impossible to reach without being detected. How did they get there? Demanded Zarathel. Her sensor officer studied the displays with confusion. I do not know, Commander. They were not there an hour ago. Captain Grace Chen sat in the pilot's seat of the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch as it approached the alien flagship. Her ship was completely unarmed, which should have made her terrified. Instead, she felt oddly calm. Admiral Sullivan had briefed her personally on this mission. Grace, you are carrying the most important cargo in human history, the Admiral had said. Not weapons, not shields, but something much more powerful. Now Grace understood what she meant. The cargo bay of her ship contained the complete cultural database of humanity. Every book, every song, every piece of art that humans had ever created, it was their soul in digital form. This is the Earth vessel Olive Branch requesting permission to dock, she radioed to the alien flagship. On the Kethari bridge, Nixara studied the approaching human ship. It is unarmed, Commander. A single small vessel. Is this their attempt at surrender? Zarathel wondered. Unknown. But they are requesting to come aboard. Zarathel considered this. It was possible the humans wanted to negotiate their surrender. In person. Allow them to dock. Bring their delegation to me immediately. As Grace's ship docked with the alien flagship, the real battle was beginning throughout the solar system. But it was unlike any battle the Kethari had ever fought before. Commander Beth Morgan led a squadron of human fighters in a precision strike against one of the alien battle groups. But instead of trying to destroy the enemy ships, her pilots targeted something much more specific. Target their communication arrays only, she ordered. We want to blind them, not kill them. Her fighters danced between the massive alien vessels like insects around giants. The Kethari weapons tried to track them, but the human ships were too small and too fast. One by one, communication dishes and sensor arrays exploded in brief flashes of light. Tech specialist Olivia Kim monitored the electronic warfare from her hidden position among the asteroids. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced jamming equipment humanity had ever built. As the alien communications went down, she began broadcasting interference on every frequency. Package delivered, she reported. Enemy fleet is going dark. Across the Kethari formation, ships began losing contact with their command structure. Centuries of rigid military discipline suddenly became a liability as individual captains found themselves cut off from orders. Velana watched in horror as her ship's communication systems failed one after another. We are being jammed, she reported to Commander Nixara. By what? There are no enemy ships in this sector. But even as she spoke, a small human vessel appeared from behind a nearby asteroid. It had been there all along, hidden and waiting. The ship fired a single missile that struck their communication array with surgical precision. We are blind, Velana announced. Meanwhile, Captain Grace Chen was escorted through the corridors of the alien flagship by armed guards. The Kethari were even more beautiful in person than they had appeared on the view screen. They moved with fluid grace, and their large eyes seemed to see everything. She was brought to a vast chamber where Fleet Commander Zarathel waited. The alien commander was tall and imposing, with silver hair and skin that seemed to glow with inner light. I am Captain Grace Chen of the Earth vessel Olive Branch. I come bearing a gift from humanity. A gift? Zarathel was confused. Your world is under attack. Why do you speak of gifts? Grace smiled. Because we believe that understanding is more powerful than weapons. We want you to know who we are before you decide our fate. She activated a small device that projected a holographic display in the center of the room. Images began to flow through the air. Human art, music, literature, scientific discoveries, acts of kindness and heroism throughout history. This is humanity, Grace said simply. Not our weapons or our defenses, but our souls. Zarathel stared at the display with growing fascination. She had conquered many worlds, but none of their inhabitants had ever shown her anything like this. What is the purpose of this? To show you that we are worth knowing, not just conquering. While Grace distracted the alien command staff, the electronic warfare continued throughout the fleet. Human ships appeared from hiding places that should have been impossible. They had been there for hours, perfectly positioned and waiting for the right moment. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the tactical display from her command center on Earth. Every human ship was exactly where it needed to be. Years of planning were finally paying off. Admiral, the alien fleet is in complete disarray, reported her communications officer. They cannot coordinate their attacks. Good. Begin Phase 3. Throughout the solar system, human ships began broadcasting on every available frequency. But instead of threats or demands for surrender, they transmitted something completely unexpected. Music. The songs of Earth filled space. Classical symphonies, jazz improvisations, rock anthems, folk ballads from every culture on the planet. The aliens found their communication channels flooded with human art. On Velana's ship, the young navigator listened to a piece of music unlike anything she had ever heard. It was complex and beautiful, full of emotions she could not identify. "What is this?" she whispered. Commander Nixara was listening too. Despite herself, she found the music strangely moving. It is their culture. They are sharing their culture with us. In the middle of a battle? It appears so. Back on the flagship, Zarathel continued to watch Grace's presentation. The holographic images showed humans at their best. Scientists making discoveries. Artists creating beauty. Ordinary people helping each other in times of crisis. "Why are you showing me this?" Zarathel demanded. "Do you think it will make me spare your world?" "I hope it will make you understand that destroying us would be a loss for the entire galaxy," Grace replied. "We have so much to offer if you give us the chance." Suddenly, an aide rushed into the chamber. "Commander, we are receiving reports from throughout the fleet. Our communications are being jammed, and our ships are being attacked." Zarathel turned to Grace with fury in her eyes. "You are distracting me while your forces attack my fleet." But Grace remained calm. "My people are defending themselves, yes. But notice how they fight. They disable your weapons instead of destroying your ships. They jam your communications instead of killing your crews. Even now, when we could destroy you, we choose not to." Zarathel studied the tactical reports flooding in. The human attacks were indeed precise and limited. They were neutralizing the Kethari fleet without causing unnecessary casualties. "Why?" she asked. "Because we hope that someday you might be our friends instead of our enemies. Dead friends are not very useful." For the first time in centuries of conquest, Zarathel found herself questioning her assumptions about the enemy. These humans were unlike any species she had encountered. They fought like warriors, but thought like philosophers. Throughout space, the battle continued. But it was becoming clear that this was not a battle for survival. It was a demonstration. The humans were showing the aliens that they could fight back, that they were not helpless prey to be conquered, and they were doing it with smiles on their faces, just as the title promised. Dr. Amanda Foster walked into the conference room aboard the neutral space station with a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was the moment she had trained for her entire career, first formal contact between humanity and an alien species. The fact that they were meeting during a military standoff made it even more challenging. Across the table sat 3 Kethari representatives. Nixara, the intelligence officer with silver hair and violet eyes, served as their chief negotiator. Beside her sat Velana, the young navigator who had been studying human behavior, and Commander Ithala, a military officer who looked uncomfortable with the whole situation. We appreciate you agreeing to these talks, Amanda began, though I wish we could have met under better circumstances. Nixara studied the human diplomat carefully. Your species continues to surprise us, Dr. Foster. Most civilizations either flee or attack when faced with Imperial forces. You chose a third option. We chose understanding, Amanda replied. Though I admit we also chose to defend ourselves. Diplomat Claire Washington, Earth's chief negotiator, opened her tablet and displayed a holographic star map. Before we discuss terms, we would like to understand why you came to our system. What does the Kethari Empire want with Earth? Commander Ithala shifted uncomfortably. We bring order to chaotic systems. Your species shows promise but lacks proper guidance. You mean conquest, Claire said bluntly. We mean salvation, Nixara corrected. In our experience, primitive species destroy themselves without proper leadership. We have saved 47 worlds from self-destruction. Amanda leaned forward with genuine curiosity. Saved them how? Velana spoke for the first time, her voice soft but clear. We bring technology, medicine, peace. We end wars and suffering. Under Imperial rule, every world prospers. But at what cost? Amanda asked. Do these worlds still have their own cultures, their own governments? The question seemed to make the aliens uncomfortable. Nixara answered carefully. They are integrated into the Empire. Primitive customs that cause harm are eliminated. Useful traditions are preserved. Who decides what is primitive and what is useful? Claire pressed. The Empire decides. We have thousands of years of experience in these matters. Amanda pulled up data from the cultural exchange that Captain Grace Chen had initiated. Your commander, Zarathel, spent several hours reviewing our cultural database. What did she think of what she saw? Nixara hesitated. She found it interesting. Your species produces a remarkable variety of artistic expression. Yet you were planning to eliminate much of it, Amanda pointed out. Not eliminate. Guide toward more constructive purposes. Velana looked conflicted. May I ask a question, Dr. Foster? Why do you create so much art? We observed thousands of different musical styles, painting techniques, literary forms. It seems inefficient. Amanda smiled. Because efficiency is not the only value worth pursuing. Beauty, creativity, individual expression, these things make life worth living. But they also create chaos, Commander Ithala objected. Multiple viewpoints lead to conflict. Sometimes, Amanda agreed, but they also lead to innovation, to growth, to solutions we never would have found if everyone thought the same way. Claire activated another display showing Earth's recent history. Look at our scientific advances in the past century. Most of them came from collaboration between different cultures, different ways of thinking. Diversity is our strength, not our weakness. Nixara studied the data with growing interest. This is not how we understood primitive development. In our experience, unity comes from uniformity. Perhaps, said a new voice from the doorway, that is why your empire has stopped growing. Everyone turned to see Fleet Commander Zarathel entering the room. She moved with elegant authority, but there was something different about her demeanor. The arrogance Amanda had seen in the first transmission was gone. Commander, Nixara stood. I did not expect you to join these negotiations personally. I changed my mind after reviewing the human cultural materials, Zarathel said, taking a seat at the table. Tell me, Dr. Foster, how many different human governments exist on your world? About 200 sovereign nations, plus countless local governments, tribal councils, and other forms of organization. And they do not constantly war with each other? Sometimes there are conflicts, Amanda admitted. But mostly we find ways to cooperate despite our differences. Zarathel considered this. In the Empire, there is one government, one law, one way of doing things. It brings peace. It brings stagnation, Claire said firmly. When did your people last make a major scientific breakthrough? When did you last discover something truly new? The question hung in the air. Finally, Velana answered quietly. It has been several centuries since any significant advancement. Because everyone thinks the same way, Amanda explained. You have achieved perfect order, but you have lost the chaos that drives progress. Commander Ithala looked confused. You speak of chaos as if it were beneficial. Controlled chaos, yes. The collision of different ideas, different perspectives. That is how new solutions are born. Zarathel activated her own display, showing data about the Empire. Our population grows slowly. Our technology advances little. Our explorers find new worlds but rarely new ideas. She paused. I have been wondering why this is so. Because diversity requires tolerance, Amanda said, and tolerance requires humility, the willingness to admit that your way might not be the only way, or even the best way. Nixara had been quietly studying the human data during the conversation. Dr. Foster, I noticed that your species has conflicts, wars, disagreements. How do you function as a unified civilization? We do not always function well, Amanda admitted. But we are learning. Each generation finds better ways to resolve conflicts, without violence, to cooperate across differences. You are evolving, Velana said with sudden understanding, not just biologically, but socially, culturally. Exactly. And that evolution requires diversity. If everyone is the same, there is no pressure to grow, no reason to change. Claire pulled up another display. This brings us to our proposal. Instead of conquest, we suggest partnership. Partnership? Zarathel looked skeptical. Your empire has resources we need. We have perspectives you need. Instead of absorbing us into your system, why not learn from us while we learn from you? Commander Ithala objected immediately. That is not how the empire works. There must be order, hierarchy, control. Why? Amanda asked simply. The question seemed to stun the military officer. Because that is how it has always been done. That is not a reason, Claire pointed out. That is just tradition. Velana leaned forward eagerly. What would this partnership look like? Trade, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, Amanda explained. We share our innovations with you. You share yours with us. We learn from each other instead of one side dominating the other. The High Command would never approve such an arrangement, Zarathel said, but she sounded uncertain. Then maybe it is time for the High Command to learn something new? Claire suggested. Nixara had been studying her tablet throughout the conversation. Commander, I have been analyzing the tactical data from our engagement with the human fleet. May I share my findings? Zarathel nodded. The humans demonstrated the ability to defeat our fleet completely. Their positioning was perfect, their timing flawless, their technology more advanced than we realized. They could have destroyed us all. But they chose not to, Velana added. Even when we attacked them, they only disabled our weapons. They protected their enemies from unnecessary harm. Why would they do that? Commander Ithala demanded. Amanda smiled. Because we hoped that someday you might be our friends. It is hard to be friends with people you have killed. Zarathel stared at the human diplomats for a long moment. You are offering us something no species has ever offered before. Equality instead of submission. We are offering you something even more valuable, Claire said. The chance to grow again. To become more than you are now. The room fell silent as the Kethari representatives considered this unprecedented proposal. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was being asked to question its most basic assumptions. Finally, Zarathel spoke. I will need to discuss this with my officers. This decision is too important to make quickly. Of course, Amanda agreed. Take all the time you need. We will be here when you are ready. As the aliens filed out of the room, Velana lingered for a moment. Dr. Foster, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Are you afraid of us? We came here to conquer your world. Amanda considered the question carefully. I was afraid at first, but now I am hopeful. You could have refused to talk to us at all. The fact that you are here, asking questions, considering alternatives, that gives me hope. Velana smiled. The first genuine smile Amanda had seen from any of the aliens. You give me hope too, Dr. Foster. Perhaps change is possible after all. The emergency session of the Kethari High Command was unlike any in the Empire's long history. Fleet Commander Zarathel stood before the holographic images of 12 Supreme Commanders, knowing that her next words would change everything. Humans have made us an offer, she began. Instead of conquest, they propose partnership. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Partnership? Supreme Commander Kolgathan's image flickered with anger. The Empire does not make partnerships with primitive species. We bring order. We bring peace. We bring civilization. With respect, Supreme Commander, the humans are not primitive, Zarathel replied. They demonstrated tactical superiority over our entire fleet. They could have destroyed us all. Then why did they not? Demanded another commander. Because they hope we can become allies instead of enemies. The concept seemed to confuse the High Command. Supreme Commander Zolgathan, the eldest and most traditional of the group, spoke slowly. Commander Zarathel, in 3,000 years of expansion, the Empire has never encountered a species that defeated our forces and then offered friendship. This is unprecedented. Exactly my point, Supreme Commander. Perhaps it is time we considered a new approach. But Kolgathan was not convinced. The old ways have served us well. Order through unity, peace through control. These humans threaten the very foundation of our civilization. Do they? Zarathel challenged. Or do they offer us a way to grow beyond our current limitations? Meanwhile, aboard Velana's ship, a different kind of revolution was taking place. The young navigator had shared her recordings of human music and art with her fellow junior officers. The response was overwhelming curiosity. Listen to this, she told her friend Ithala as she played a human symphony. The complexity is incredible, multiple instruments playing different melodies that somehow work together to create something beautiful. Ithala, who had been questioning imperial doctrine since the failed attack, listened with wonder. It is like their society, different voices creating harmony instead of uniformity. Exactly. And look at their scientific achievements. Velana displayed data from the Human Cultural Database. They made more technological advances in the past century than we have made in the past 1,000 years. A group of younger Kethari officers had gathered around them, all listening intently. These were individuals who had grown up hearing stories of the great discoveries their ancestors had made, wondering why such innovations no longer occurred. "What are you suggesting?" asked Lieutenant Thalgavin. "I am suggesting that maybe the humans are right. Maybe diversity leads to strength instead of weakness." Commander Nixara appeared in the doorway, having overheard the conversation. The junior officers tensed, expecting to be reprimanded. Instead, she moved closer to examine the human data. "I have been thinking the same thing," she admitted. "In my analysis of human behavior, I found patterns I had never seen before. They solve problems by bringing together different perspectives, not by imposing single solutions." "Commander, are you saying the Empire is wrong?" Ithala asked carefully. "I am saying the Empire may be incomplete. We achieved our goals of peace and order, but at the cost of growth and discovery. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan was dealing with her own challenges. Not all humans were convinced that trusting the aliens was wise. Admiral, they came here to conquer us," argued General Robert Hayes. "How can we be sure this is not just another strategy?" "Because they could have continued the attack," Admiral Sullivan replied. "They have the numbers to overwhelm us eventually. The fact that they agreed to talk suggests they are genuinely reconsidering their position." Dr. Amanda Foster joined the meeting via holographic link from the neutral station. "Admiral, I have spent hours talking with the Kethari negotiators. Their younger officers are fascinated by our culture. They are asking questions I do not think they have ever asked before." "What kind of questions?" "Why we create art. Why we allow disagreement. Why we value individual expression. These are concepts their society has suppressed for centuries." President Helen Baker, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "Dr. Foster, in your professional opinion, is change possible for their civilization?" "I believe so, Madam President. But it will not be easy. They are being asked to question everything they believe about order, control, and authority." Captain Grace Chen, who had been monitoring communications from both fleets, added her perspective. "The human crews are responding well to the ceasefire. Our people are naturally curious about the aliens. Some of our ships are already exchanging basic greetings with Kethari vessels." "And their response?" Mixed. The older commanders are maintaining strict protocol, but younger crew members seem genuinely interested in communication. As the talks continued, dramatic events were unfolding within the Kethari fleet. Supreme Commander Kolgathan had secretly ordered a final assault on Earth, believing that quick victory would end all discussion of partnership. But when he transmitted the attack order, something unprecedented happened. Many ships simply did not respond. "Admiral, we are receiving mixed signals from the Kethari fleet," reported Captain Lisa Rodriguez from Haven Station. "Some ships are powering weapons. Others are standing down." Commander Beth Morgan was monitoring the situation from her fighter squadron. "I am seeing the same thing. It looks like they are having some kind of internal conflict." Indeed, they were. Aboard Velana's ship, her captain had received Kolgathan's order and was preparing to attack, but the junior officers were refusing to follow the command. "This is mutiny," the captain declared. "This is evolution," Velana replied. "We have learned something new and we choose not to ignore it." Commander Nixara made the decision that would define her future. "I agree with Navigator Velana. I will not order an attack on a species that offered us friendship." Similar scenes were playing out across the fleet as younger officers chose to follow their consciences instead of blindly obeying orders. The rigid hierarchy that had defined Kethari society for millennia was cracking. Fleet. Commander Zarathel watched the rebellion spreading through her forces with a mixture of concern and pride. "All ships. This is Fleet Commander Zarathel. Ignore the attack order from Supreme Commander Kolgathan. I am assuming full command of this fleet." The response was immediate. Ships that had been loyal to the High Command for centuries declared their allegiance to their local commander instead. The Kethari Empire was splitting apart. "Commander Zarathel," came Kolgathan's furious transmission, "you are committing treason against the Empire." "No," Zarathel replied calmly. "I am saving it." Dr. Amanda Foster watched these developments with amazement. "Admiral Sullivan, are you seeing this? The Kethari are having a civil war right in front of us." "Not a civil war," Admiral Sullivan corrected. "A revolution, and we may have started it just by being ourselves." President Baker made the decision that would shape human-alien relations for generations. "Dr. Foster, I want you to offer sanctuary to any Kethari who want to defect from their empire. If they are willing to embrace our values of diversity and cooperation, we will welcome them." The offer was transmitted to the entire alien fleet. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of young Kethari officers requested permission to transfer to human ships, eager to learn about this new way of thinking. Velana was among the first to accept. As she boarded Captain Rodriguez's station, she looked back at the massive alien fleet with mixed emotions. "Are you sure about this?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "I am sure that I want to learn," Velana replied. "For the first time in my life, I have hope that tomorrow can be better than today." Commander Nixara also chose to join the humans, bringing with her detailed knowledge of Kethari technology and culture. Her first act was to establish a cultural exchange program between the two species. "We have much to learn from each other," she told Dr. Foster. "Your diversity can teach us to grow again. Our knowledge can help you reach the stars." Engineer Rosa Martinez was amazed by the alien technology they shared. "Dr. Foster, their ships use power sources we have only dreamed of. Combined with our innovation and their engineering, we could explore the entire galaxy." Within weeks, the first joint human Kethari research stations were established. Scientists from both species worked together to solve problems that neither could handle alone. The results were extraordinary. "Look at this," said Dr. Foster, showing Admiral Sullivan the latest reports. "Joint teams have already made breakthroughs in faster-than-light communication and energy production. What took us decades to develop, they are improving in days." The revolution within the Kethari Empire continued to spread. Ships throughout their territory were choosing between the old ways of conquest and the new possibilities of cooperation. Many chose cooperation. Fleet Commander Zarathel, now calling herself Alliance Commander, established the first free Kethari government in 3 millennia. "We choose growth over stagnation, diversity over uniformity, partnership over domination," she declared. Not all of the Empire accepted these changes. Supreme Commander Kolgathan led the traditionalist faction deeper into space, still believing in conquest and control. But they were now a minority, isolated and increasingly irrelevant. President Baker stood before the United Nations to announce humanity's entry into galactic civilization. Today marks the beginning of a new era. We go to the stars not as conquerors, but as friends. We carry with us the values that make us human: curiosity, creativity, compassion, and hope. Captain Grace Chen, now commanding the first joint human Kethari exploration vessel, prepared for humanity's first mission beyond the solar system. Her crew included both species, working together toward common goals. "All stations report ready," announced Navigator Velana from her position on the bridge. "Science stations online," reported Dr. Foster, who had eagerly accepted the role of Chief Science Officer. Commander Nix Ara, serving as cultural liaison, activated the ship's communication systems. Message recorded and ready for transmission. Captain Chen smiled as she looked out at the stars ahead. The sky that had once been filled with enemy ships was now filled with infinite possibilities. "This is the Earth-Kethari Alliance vessel, New Dawn, beginning our first joint mission of exploration and discovery. We go forward together, as friends." The ship engaged its engines and disappeared into hyperspace, carrying the hopes and dreams of two civilizations toward whatever wonders awaited them among the stars. The sky had been filled with enemy ships, and humanity had answered with a smile. That smile had changed everything.